Hello from the dung heap, everybody. These are my friends. A lot of them.
Friends.
There he is. Hi, sweetie.
Hello. Good morning, everybody.
And we're live. Hello. SPTV. Hello. Hi, everybody. Forgot to add myself. Good morning. Good morning. So here it is, day 2. I'm back. It's great to be back. And I had quite a few of you send me messages and emails, not only while I was gone, but yesterday welcoming me back and also giving me a heads up about what I'm going to talk about today. I am subscribed to Cults to Consciousness. I love Elise Ansola and her material. She is ex-Mormon at ex-LDS, I think they call it now. And her content is very, very hard to watch, but also really, really good to see that people are being activists and just spreading the word about cult abuse. So she does not only content on things like, you know, where she came from, her background of Mormonism, but also Scientology content, a lot of JW and Pentecostal, where I came from, and all kinds of fundamental cults. So yeah, yesterday's was really hard to listen to. I have listened to Misty's content before, and her story is just heartbreaking. And she has a petition going with change.org, and I have it, I think I've seen it in the chat as well. Shalise Ansola. Yes, thank you, Nancy. And Nancy Alley is in the background, and she also, I believe, put it in the chat as well. So if you haven't signed this petition, please consider it, because it's got over 30,000 signatures now, and the next goal is 35, and it is addressed to the U.S. Congress, and I'll talk more about the contents of it and why it's so important. So great to see everybody. It's a little bit of a heavy topic today, a little bit triggering, so please take care of yourself. We'll be talking about child essay and what we can do. Start it and sign. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you to all who have signed it so far. So let me give you a little introduction to Misty Griffin here. And this is just a little overview of her story and her background and why and how she has brought this Child Rights Act petition to fruition. And I'm going to play it, but there's no voiceover or anything. It's just music, and I'm not sure if it's copyrighted. So I'm just going to read it as we go along. It's only about a minute or two, and then I'll get into some other things that I wanted to share. Okay, so let me play this. Okay, so this is Misty Griffin, age 40, child abuse and SA assault survivor, creator of the Child Rights Act. Whoops. It goes kind of fast. Okay, creator of the Child Rights Act petition. Sorry, it keeps skipping on me. All right, I'm just going to keep it paused. I guess I read slow. Consulting producer on the sins of the Amish, author of Tears of the Silence, registered nurse, and at Child Rights Act. She says, when I was 4 years old, my mom met a gold miner who lived on a gold mine in northern Arizona. He had been want he had been wanted for child SA in the 70s, but fled before he could be arrested. At the mine, my younger sister and I lived an isolated, severely abusive life. We were never allowed to talk to anyone without raising our hand and asking permission, not even each other. When we would go into town, we were forced to stay in a truck canopy with a tape recorder running to make sure we never made a sound. Hot summer and cold winter, no one knew that we were there. Sometimes we attended a small church. My sister and I were not allowed to go to Sunday school with the other kids. People would stare at us. I could see the shock, the concern and shock, but no one helped us. A few years later, we started living like the Amish and moved to a mountain ranch 6 miles from the nearest town. I later learned that people in town knew that we were being abused, but no one helped us. At 18 years old, I joined the Amish to escape. A few years later, I went to the police to report the bishop of my church for SA. Uh, Sorry. Okay. The Amish church knew that the bishop was a child SAer, pedo, what do they call that? A PDF file, and had merely shunned him for 6 weeks, years prior to my assault. 11 years later, the bishop was arrested and sent to prison. I created the Child Rights Act petition in hopes of putting a safety net in place for every single child in the USA. If there had been a Child Rights Act when I was a kid, maybe someone would have stepped in and helped. Also, it's high time to stop giving religions a pass on how they handle child abuse cases. Safety measures put in place to protect children in regular society do not reach kids in strict religions. Non-licensed religious school teachers are not required to take mandated reporter training. Most private schools do not teach Aaron's Law as a prevention education. There would be no religious exemption when it comes to child safety. There should be no religious exemption. One in 7 children have experienced child abuse or neglect in the past year in the United States from the CDC. About 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 13 boys are SA'd before their 18th birthday, also from the CDC. Children are our most valuable and our most vulnerable natural resource. They need rights. Congress, enact a Child's Right Act, USA Child's Right Act. So that's the overview of her story and also why she made this petition. Okay, just looking the chat. All right, where do I go from here? This is a lot. Yeah, so that's the overview of her story. I'm going to play just a little bit of her interview from yesterday with Shalise and just gives another little overview and what is in the petition, and then we can also read the petition and some other things I had to share. So mhm.
and then pushed into the Amish when she was a teenager. She's written a book, Tears of the Silence. Highly recommend. We did a whole episode on her backstory, but today our focus is really on passing this Child Rights Act, which will provide safety for all children across the United States. So, Misty, thank you for joining us. Let's talk about your goal with this bill. Is it a bill?
It's a petition right now, but I hope it will become a bill. It's the Child Rights Act. Everybody, please share this video. We want this video to go viral. We want it to get as many shares, as many views as possible, so we can get as many signatures as we possibly can on this Child Rights Act petition. So if you want to help, I mean, if you believe in child safety and that the parents' background, their beliefs, whatever the parents believe, that the child should have a right to safety, then you can do three things. You can share this video. You can go to the link below, description below, and you can click on the link to it, sign, and then you can scroll down to the bottom, the very bottom of the petition, and there's a link to my Facebook, Twitter, or X account, and you can click on that and share my pinned post, make Congress take notice, and just have really people say, it's 2024. It is time for child safety. So
yeah, let's talk about your goal with the Child Rights Act. So what is it that you're actually asking Congress to do here?
One of the main goals of the Child Rights Act petition is to make child sexual abuse prevention education mandatory for every single child in the United States. Right now we have Aaron's Law, which is child sexual abuse prevention education. But if you're in a religious community, it's never going to, reach you if, a kid in that kind of atmosphere. In public schools, parents have the right to opt out. Some states are barely even recognizing it, even if it's been passed in that state. So my goal is to make it federal law, mandatory in all 50 states, and every single child will get this education. Secondly, in the petition, I'm asking that every child have a mandated reporter in their orbit. So if they are being homeschooled, then their homeschooling parent or person who's homeschooling them will have to take mandated reporter training and will be held accountable to report, that abuse. So if there's abuse going on and they know it and they don't report it, then they're going to be held accountable for that.
And the reason for that is because in public schools, teachers are mandated reporters in some states. With the homeschool kids, parents can isolate their children and no one has to report any abuse.
Yes. So teachers, principals, people that work in the licensed professionals that work in public schools, they are mandated reporters. If they know abuse is going on and they don't report it, then they can get in trouble. I mean, they can face jail time, whatever it is for that state. But, if you're being homeschooled, the homeschool laws are so lax. I mean, there are some states, I think there's 15 states in the United States that have pretty much no homeschool laws. You can just say, oh, my kids are being homeschooled. And I mean, nobody really checks. Nobody does anything. A lot of states, you have to send some stuff in, but I've heard of cases where the parents, did the stuff that they sent in for the kids.
Okay. I want to speak to that because I actually have some experience with this. I homeschooled my daughter till she was 9 years old. So that was third grade. And I barely had an education myself. It was pretty much expected and mandated that in my cult that we had to homeschool. Now, I'm going to preface this with saying that I know some great homeschool families. I know some homeschoolers that are way above, the standard as far as academically, and some great parents who homeschool. Sorry, I'm blurry here. So I'm not knocking homeschool as a thing. Okay. Sorry. I'm really blurry. Here we go. All right. Yeah. So I'm not knocking homeschooling and saying that it's terrible. I will say that it is used to hide a multitude of things that shouldn't be happening to children. The isolation and the lack of accountability is not good in a lot of states and in a lot of cases. In our case, I live in Vermont. Back then, this was in the early 2000s. Vermont had a bit of a loophole where they didn't require any eyes on or hands on the children at all throughout the year, throughout their homeschooling career, right? Uh, they said that they could have, there were like 3 different ways that you could homeschool. One was by correspondence through a accredited or recognized school. You could do that. Also, you had to test every year, and usually you'd have to go into the schools and be face to face with an actual certified teacher, and they would give you the assessment tests that whatever that state, Vermont had their own assessment tests. The other thing is which we did in our church was portfolios. And I mean, I was really careful. Like, I really wanted my kids to have a good education. I didn't have a good education. It really wasn't like a focus. Education was not a focus for, our group. And what we would do is just send in samples of their work every year. And the curriculum was very eclectic, very, very eclectic. And I, I think I closed that window, but one of the curriculum we used besides the ATI, which was the Duggar cult materials, was this thing called Rod and Staff. And if you rewind a little bit to that thing that I just shared with Misty of why she, started this petition, there was this cover of, it says Bible stories to color, and it looked like a little Moses in the thicket, in the river. I think it was the Nile, right? And that was a little triggering to see because we had that coloring book for my kids, and it was from this Mennonite homeschool curriculum called Rod and Staff. Now, if you know from the Bible what that means, rod and staff, the rod is beating your children. And that's what they believe, that like they take a scripture from Psalm 23 where it says, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. It's from the Lord is my shepherd. A lot of people know that one, but it says thy rod and staff comfort me. So basically, you're telling God, beat on me because that comforts me, which is really messed up. So, it's very, like I said, very, very eclectic, very hard to regulate. And I want to show you some statistics that I saw today. All right. See if I can get this. Okay. I'll read it to you. It says, some states have few or no regulations for homeschooling, making them more lenient. Alaska has no requirements for notification, parent qualifications, instruction time, subjects, bookkeeping, or assessments. So basically, Alaska, which geographically, it's very isolated. So it has pretty much no requirements or regulation. Texas doesn't require sharing reports about your homeschool or curriculum with the state or locally. Florida doesn't have minimum education level or criminal record bans for parents and doesn't require vaccinations or a list of required subjects. And those are 2 pretty big states, Texas and Florida. South Dakota, the school board doesn't require approval after a public school exemption form is filed. Utah has no subject requirements. Other states with few or no regulations include Idaho, Oklahoma, Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, and Connecticut. In contrast, states like Massachusetts, New York, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Vermont have more restrictive homeschool laws. And Vermont, I think that's pretty new because I'm not sure if they've gotten rid of the portfolio option, that loophole, but if they have, that's probably a good thing because it would be really easy to hide. So I just wanted to show you those statistics there. And I will show you the petition before we end, but I want to show you one more thing that I saw. I believe it was yesterday or the day before. And this was Rabbit did a stream talking about, navigating the ex-Scientology community and also showing this document. Let's see if I can, there we go. Okay. Play a little bit of this.
Looking into this right here, y'all. And this is interesting. Flag Divisional Directive. Now, this is the guidelines for minors on staff. Now, of course, I am not the expert at any of this. I default to Nora. I default to Aaron. I default to everybody else to fill in the blanks of this, of course. But it was interesting to read this because of how they did the workaround to ensure that they were able to get minors to work in these long hours, right? And make sure that they got like as much as they can out of children in this cult. And I thought what was interesting is just kind of like we're skipping, in my opinion, it feels like this is the kind of stuff that needs to be brought to the forefront of, like, if people knew that these laws existed and they were creating these little, I don't know, workarounds and guidelines. What does that say about other things that they've worked around and guideline and they did around, that time? Like how they worked around certain laws to make sure that they got the most out of children, or that they were able to exploit children, or they were able to use children to continue to push the cult, right?
All right, so you can watch the rest of that. I've got the link below. And yeah, and just FYI, that document's got Mike Render's initials all over it. So yeah, which brings me, I wanted to mention literally no one at literally no one SP. If you haven't subscribed to his page, that is our friend George Massey, old George, one of my mods, and he's been doing a fantastic job on his channel at just showing what is going on with Child USA, with Mike Rinder, with Marcy Hamilton, and the history behind a lot of these cover-ups and things that are have gone on. And he is basically helping to bring to light all of the things that have happened to cover up the child SA and child abuse of the children of Scientology. And it's just one cult that has exploited children and abused them. There are so many. I mean, we're focused on Scientology, but also if, all these people that have been abused by cults can band together and they're allies, then we can maybe get something done, because there are, I would venture to say, millions of children that are isolated in all of these pockets, not only in the US, but in the world. And it's got to stop. There's got to be some accountability. So I got on my soapbox here. But yeah, just in my own little corner of the world, it would have been very easy. And I, I have admitted, and the trolls have said, oh, Marilyn, she abused her children. Well, legally, I guess it was legal, but I did. And I'm glad that I didn't do, everything this book said, but it's one of the biggest regrets of my life. It really is. And I don't want anyone to go through that ever, but unfortunately they are. So, what else did I have? I guess I have pretty much shown you everything I wanted to show you besides the actual petition. And I want to go through some of your questions and comments. All right. Thank you, Nancy, for starting questions. Nicole Yonker. Hey, Marilyn. Hey, Nicole. I just knew you were the person to send this to. I was wondering if you saw it. Yes, thank you. I had so many people tag me and send this to me and comment, and I'm glad they did, because it is absolutely important. Nancy Alley, thank you so much for sharing the petition. And if you haven't signed it, please read it and consider signing it. Syria. Yes. Live contains discussion of upsetting and uncomfortable topics. Thank you for the trigger warning. Absolutely. Mischief managed. You sound better today. Thank you. Yeah, I was a little. If you ask Duncan, I was kind of coughing early this morning, but I think it's getting better. Definitely getting better. I just gotta pace myself, I guess. Oh, I know. Yeah, Susie, I'm crying over the stats. Yeah, I did too. When I first saw those, I was like, 1 in 4 girl. I believe it, but it's terrible. It's absolutely horrible. Jersey Jan, if I can download the document, I'll post it on my FB page. Yes. Thank you for that. And Jersey Jan is a new mod of mine, but for some reason I can't get her her handle right. So I'm trying to add her, but thank you, Jan, for being willing to mod, and I will definitely get that fixed. So all right. Thank you, Nancy. I saw that message. Okay. Good to know. Hef, oh, glad you're here, Hef. This and Hef has a lot of unfortunately a lot of background in this as well. This type of religious schooling. Sad thing is, these religious sects think that God will forgive the abuser and quote heal the victim. They don't report it because it would cause them to lose church members and then lose money. Yep. Yep. I agree. I think you're absolutely right. Hef also said, in my very small private Christian school, I was taken down by the pond behind it and quote disciplined several times. Why down by the pond so the other kids couldn't hear us scream? Oh. And that was in a Christian school. That's awful. Yeah. Kate Delight, do we have to live in the US? Nope. No, it's change.org, so you can live anywhere and sign it. Yep. Absolutely. And it's not, it's not binding by law. It's not the change.org is it's used as a tool to show how support for any cause, and it is brought to the powers that be and shown like how much support there is for it. So the fact that there's people from across the globe, across the pond that support this, it's just another tool to show that there's some activism and there's a lot of concern for this. So, Jersey Jan, comment, don't forget there's another Child USA protest in Philadelphia on November 7th. Yes, I'm planning on going. I am definitely planning on doing that. Absolutely. Kate Delight, I love what George does for me that doesn't go on Twitter or Instagram or down blogs. He helps us see the truth. The best disinfectant is the truth. Yes, absolutely true. Absolutely. Joel McQueen, comment, there's a direct connection between child abuse and animal abuse. When you see animal abuse, often there's other abuse going on. It is a sick reality. Evil is out there. Beware. And that's a good point. That abusers abuse, and definitely a warning sign. So true. Yeah. Yes, I agree, Doug. Religious leaders exploit the Bible. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Hey, Christine Never Newton. Hey there. Good to see you. Oh, thank you, Kelly. Kelly sees me at my worst almost every day. I'm just trying to clean myself up. Thanks, honey. Oh my goodness. I figure if I just slap on some jewelry, I'll make it all better. All better. Pamela SP Butterfly, great to see you. Thank you for being here. Comment, hubby and I are deconstructing from growing up, Seventh-day Adventists. These children's rights are critical because predators are being moved around. Seventh-day Adventists it's just rampant. It really is. The fundamental Baptists, the Jehovah's Witnesses, and we've seen it in Scientology, this 2x2 cult, and that that was originated in Ireland in the 1800s, and it's still going on. And finally, the FBI is finally investigating them, and that is because people went to ABC News. ABC News is investigating it for over a year. I wish they would do the same. Oh, I'm really riled up today, guys. I wish they would do that with Scientology as well. And for some freaking reason, it's like they're afraid, or I don't know. I don't know. And whoever, Mitch Brisker, says that Scientology doesn't have children being abused, or that there's none in the Sea Org, or there's none in whatever, just saying, oh, pay no attention. That is BS. There are children in there being abused. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I just want to shout it from the rooftops. I really respect and admire Miriam and Serge for just beating the drum and keeping the word, getting the word out, and keeping the focus of the children, because it's definitely something that is worth focusing on 24/7 for some, and I really want to see this petition get legs and get hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of signatures. So right now it's at 35,000, I believe, or 34,000. So that's right, Nicole. Public Scientology kids are also abused. Yes. I mean, I would venture to say that that basically auditing is abuse. And the things that they ask those children are so inappropriate and so traumatizing and awful. That's right. Thank you for mentioning that. The Mormons and the fundamental LDS as well. Yep. Yeah. I think pretty much any fundamental extreme religion has some form of that going on. Definitely. Mischief managed. It seems like once these, quote, principles are publicly known, abusers would flock to these so-called religions. Yeah. And I was thinking about this morning about the various states that don't have much regulation with the homeschooling situation. And also I know as well, Christian schools don't have, or a lot of religious schools don't, and even Scientology schools don't have a lot of oversight. And I mean, I get the importance of freedom of religion, and I'm not trying to say that there shouldn't be that there shouldn't be some exemption, but when it comes to child safety, like Misty said, it should be no exemption, no exceptions at all. And I think it's important, these 2 points that she's made in the petition, is one, that every child would have that basic education about SA and to know what's right and wrong, what's happening to them. It's not their fault, and to be able to report it if it's happening. Also, having at least one mandated reporter in every child's life, in every child's sphere of influence, at least one. And if there is abuse and they don't report it, that they can get in big trouble. So it's okay, well, my religion is going to be mad at me, or I could go to jail. So hopefully you choose the child's safety. Hopefully you choose to report it. And if you are pressured to because it's the right thing to do and it's mandated, I think the children have a better chance. So you can tell I'm passionate about this. I've been stewing about it all morning because I think it's so, so, so important. It just really is. Oh, hey, Dr. MLS, great to see you. Hey, Swedish Lena, I absolutely love your matching necklace, earrings, chef's kit. Oh, chef's kiss. Where are they from? Believe it or not, these I got at Walmart. A lot of my joy is from JCPenney, but I just liked this, and it's really cheap. It's very like chintzy, but yeah, I just like the little ensemble. So I got it at Walmart recently. So they probably have them. Yep. We talk about everything here, don't we? We talk about everything. Doug, my experience in church as a child was happy and full of joy and love. It breaks my heart to hear of this today. I'm so sorry to all have been abused. Yeah, I totally understand that, Doug, and thank you for understanding, because I in no way am knocking anyone's religion, and I don't want to attack Christianity or any religion, but it's unfortunately used, sometimes misused, as an umbrella of to abuse people, and that's just not that's the thing. Yeah. Kate Delight, we have to repair the system so it doesn't finish with taking the kids. Oh wait, we have to repair the system also. It doesn't finish with taking the kids. What do you do for them after? You mean like after you take, yeah, getting them taken away? I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I was thinking about this 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 raid that happened. I believe it was in 2003, maybe 2003. Not sure, but here in Vermont, up in the Northeast Kingdom, there was, and I've done a stream on it. I'll have to kind of brush up on it because it's good to revisit this. The 12 tribes, which a lot of you have heard of, the yellow delis. That's the 12 tribes business. They started somewhere, I want to say Tennessee or Kentucky. I'm not sure which state, but that's where they started. And of course, you know, the abuse started to be reported, abuse of children, and they started to scatter like they do. You know, a lot of cults do that. They just start to scatter, they start to move around, and they move to northern Vermont. And northern Vermont, not, you know, they have a saying, in Vermont, do what you want. And there were hundreds of children that were actually taken into custody, and the judge threw out the case and sent the kids back home. And one of the reasons was because there was no documentation that they could prove that Child Protective Services and law enforcement could prove who these children were, what their names were, who their parents were, because a lot of them were home births and they didn't have social security numbers. They didn't have any documentation. And this is in the 2000s in the US, and it's going on today as well. There's children that are just undocumented. They pretty much don't exist for all intents and purposes. And it's not okay. It's just not okay. So, okay. Swedish Lena, there are only public children in Scientology now. However, we have now seen it advertised that they offer it from newborn children. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as far as the Sea Org, I think you can join when you're, I thought it was 16. Maybe it's 18 now. I'm not sure. Jersey Jan, as a paralegal, I was working on cases of adults bringing suits against the Catholic Church because of SA when they opened up the, what's the SOL? I'm drawing a blank. I know it, and I'm like, but it was just heartbreaking to read the complaints. Yeah, what's SOL? I'll look at the chat. I know somebody knows. Oh, duh. Yeah, okay. I knew it, but I was like drawing a blank. Statute of limitations, right? Exactly. It is heartbreaking. And you think of all of the stories that we've heard from children of Scientology that are grown now. And I don't think that kind of abuse just stops dead in their tracks, especially with a cult like Scientology. So yeah, the statute of limitations really needs to be lifted. And I think in Canada there is no statute of limitations, I believe. Oh, speaking of Canada, Jeanette Brown comment, I live in Canada. Every child matters. Yeah. I don't believe they have the statute of limitations. Mhm. Joe McCoyne, in my life, I have seen a large uptick in abuse of all kinds. How can we, as good people, allow this? It can be stopped. We must band together to put a stop to it. It's all up to us. Yep. Must stop. Absolutely. Yep. Thank you, everybody, for correcting me. There should not be any. I agree. I absolutely agree. Oh, Warren Jeffs. Okay, yeah, I thought we were. Yeah, that was in Texas. That was 400 children, 400 and something children, and they let them out too because they couldn't really prove everything, and the kids were, like Oprah got involved, and like a lot of people were like, "This is terrible. This is violating the parents' rights and the religion, freedom of religion," and I understand that. I understand the government's hesitation. I mean, we've seen things like Waco happen, right? And the children that died in Waco. That was horrific. It was horrific. But also the completely hands-off approach doesn't work either, because there are children that need help right now. Right now. Jeanette Brown comment, oops, every child matters. Residential school is heartbreaking. My parents were taken from homes. Oh my God. That's awful. Swedish Lena, just look up, the Kingston clan in Salt Lake, polygamous cult where the leader has over 230 children. Most children in that cult are undocumented. Yeah, the Kingston clan, that was, I used to be obsessed with watching that show. Was it Escaping Polygamy? If you haven't seen it, definitely consider watching it because it's really eye-opening, and it's modern day polygamy, and people, they look like you and me. I mean, they're not wearing the FLDS garb, and these girls, oh my God, it's just so heartbreaking. It really is. Major trigger warning. Yeah. Buckled up Buttercup, you are not considered a child if you are married in some states, so suddenly rules don't apply. Yeah. Yeah, and that's why even in Scientology, they were pressuring people, kids to get married, because then they no longer had to abide by any rules when it came to them being a minor. It is a sad truth. Yeah, it's just awful. Candace, there are multiple FLDS sects. Yeah. There are, just like with fundamental Christianity. I mean, there's fundamental Baptists, there's fundamental Pentecostals, there's a lot of independent, even like that 2x2 cult. I don't think it has a religious exemption because it really doesn't exist, but it does, and that's been going on for centuries now. Oh. Jeanette Brown comment, up in Canada with residential school, over 1,000, thousands of children never got to go home. Mass graves all over Canada being discovered. Oh my God. I had no idea. If you want to send me some information on that, my email is coffeecultsandcrafts@gmail.com if anyone wants to send me anything. So I wanted to take some time to actually just read through this petition before we end, and let's keep it going, guys. Please sign it, share it if you can, share it on Facebook and Instagram and all the stuff, and let's keep getting this pushed out. And I left a bunch of links in this video below, so I'm going to start a couple things I can end with, and let me pull this up. Okay. So here's the petition. Change.org. Congress. Pass a Child Rights Act. No exemptions, no exceptions. Started by, why this petition matters. Started by Misty Griffin. Subject. Urgent petition for comprehensive child protection in all schools, including strict religious institutions. I left the Amish in 2005 due to the rampant unreported child abuse involving severe corporal punishment and child SA. Unfortunately, many strict religions strongly discourage or even forbid reporting child SA. The protection of children from abuse is a fundamental imperative that transcends institutional boundaries and mandates a comprehensive approach to safeguarding their well-being. The proposed enforcement mechanisms outlined in this petition are essential for ensuring compliance and accountability across diverse educational settings. By advocating for a uniform standard of protection and fostering a culture of vigilance against abuse in all 50 states, we aim to create a safer environment for all children. We recognize the sensitive nature of balancing religious freedom with child protection. However, educational resources that respect diverse religious beliefs must be available while upholding the core principles of safeguarding children from harm. Aaron's Law, already in effect in some states, is legislation designed to help prevent child SA by requiring schools to implement age-appropriate SA awareness and prevention education programs for students. The law aims to empower children with knowledge and skills to recognize and report abuse, as well as provide resources and support for victims. However, Aaron's Law allows each state the authority to pass its own version. It may not include private, parochial, religious, and homeschools because they are not subject to the same regulations. It is a heartbreaking reality that in some religious and private settings, the fear of reprisal, ostracism, or eternal damnation can silence victims and prevent them from seeking help. The insidious nature of abuse thrives in environments where reporting is actively discouraged, perpetuating cycles of trauma and suffering for vulnerable children. Therefore, for the safety of all children, Aaron's Law should be expanded to cover private, parochial, religious, and homeschools in all 50 states. Ensure that unlicensed teachers in private and religious schools undergo mandated reporter training. Mandated reporter training for homeschool teachers and incorporate Aaron's Law into the curriculum. While religious freedom is essential, it does not supersede the duty to protect children and cannot be used to shield abusers. Age-appropriate materials that do not violate basic religious principles can be provided. Enforcement is problematic as these are private institutions, but they can be enacted. It can be enforced through one or more of these measures. 1. Make school administrators, staff, educators, board members, and homeschool parents who do not comply civilly and or criminally accountable for repeated abuse. 2. Make compliance a condition to be eligible to use vouchers or receive other public grants. 3. Only recognize diplomas from a compliant school or homeschool. Without compliance, the diploma should not be valid as an educational certificate requiring a GED. 4. This should be a requirement for the granting and maintaining tax-exempt status. Requires federal action. By working together, we can ensure that every child, regardless of their educational setting, is afforded the protection they deserve. Please join me in making history by demanding Congress pass a Child's Right Act. Sincerely, Misty Griffin. Okay. So I wanted to read that in its entirety because I felt like it was really well written and just so important. So I just want to read a couple more of your comments. All right, Doug, when I moved to my small town, I wanted to find a church. I thought the Church of Christ sounded good. It took me a few months to figure out that it was a cult. Yeah, that is a fundamental cult, I believe. Joel McCoy, this is a heavy subject, but a very important one. It affects us all in different ways, but think of how you can help. When we are upset by it, that says something. Let's all do what we can. Absolutely. Thank you for that. Granny G, hi there. After spending the last 2 days with my precious granddaughter, it just breaks my heart every time I think of the kids out there that don't get to experience love and laughter. We need a safety net. Absolutely. Absolutely. Kathy Scoggins, hi there. Bringing light to a hard subject is needed because only when someone shows, oh, I'm sorry. I must be getting tired. Bringing light to a hard subject is needed because only when someone knows can it be stopped. It's hard to learn about it, but knowledge is power. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's worth bringing it up for the children, for the children's sake. And like Misty said several times, that if someone had known what was going on, and which people did know but didn't report it, then if they had reported it, maybe she could have been saved some of the grief and some of the abuse that she suffered. And honestly, myself as well, when I was young. So I can totally relate to it. Absolutely. Unfortunately, a lot of us can. So Pamela SP Butterfly, thank you for sharing this. Is such an important petition. Yes, please share it and sign it if you haven't. Beyond Jehovah's Witnesses. Hello, Marilyn. I'm a former member of Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah, well, glad to meet you, and I'm glad you're a former. And I can relate. My cult was very similar in a lot of ways to the Jehovah's Witnesses. In fact, when I left, this was back in the mid 2000s. I didn't really know what a cult was. I didn't know that it was spiritual abuse. I had no idea that there was anybody that could really relate to me. And this was back when I can't remember. Yeah, I know it was Yahoo, but it was sort of like a Reddit thing. It was like Yahoo groups, and there was an ex Jehovah's Witness group, and I really got so much out of it from reading their experiences because it was very, very similar. Very similar. Doug, question, Marilyn, why do you think it isn't reported? You mean child SA in the religions? I think it's a very shameful thing that people don't want to admit. It's pressure to not talk about it because they believe that they have the truth, right? That their religion can heal and can solve everything, just like with Scientology, that it can only be remedied with Scientology. So instead of reporting the perpetrators, they would just audit them or whatever, or move them around and move the victims around as well. And I don't know. I think that it's one of those things that has been normalized to cover up, and it shouldn't be. It should be normalized to talk about it. I think about so many people that I knew growing up that either came through our foster home or through, the foster home I was in, or through the church, that had been SA'd by, I know at least 2, by their own biological father. And they were adults when I met them. And they never talked about it. They never reported it. And the horrific abuse that they suffered, these 2 women, when they were kids, and that SOB never went to jail and went to his grave, never having been brought to justice. It just angers me more than burns my biscuits. So yeah, so I think it's good to talk about. And Jehovah's Witness, beyond Jehovah's Witnesses, JWs don't accept blood transfusions. This includes children raised in this cult. That is a really good point. I've heard, and maybe you could speak to this, I've heard that they've now, I don't know if it's in every state, but they've now required parents to allow children to receive blood transfusions because they haven't children can't consent, right? So I hope that's the case. I really do. Because that is just, that's unaliving your child. It can't be right. It just can't be. It can't be okay or allowed. Shouldn't be allowed. Jersey Jan, I recently learned a former high school classmate was abused by her father as a kid. You never know what goes on behind your, yeah, you never know. Yeah. And that's why I think it's good to just be able to talk about it and report it no matter when it happened. Mhm. Yeah. All right. I'm sorry if I'm missing any of your comments, but yeah, this has been an intense one. But after watching Shalice's interview with Misty and hearing from all of you, so many of you, I knew that we should definitely tackle it. And this morning, actually, Liz Gale did a premiere and kind of was speaking to some of this as far as the long-term effects of people who grew up in cults and were abused, experienced cult abuse. So I think that it's funny, uncanny how it seems like a lot of us are on the kind of the same wavelength and talking about this, and Rabbit Stream as well. So all right, I think so we're about an hour. I'm not sure if I'll be on tomorrow. The dogs have an appointment, but if Duncan wants to take them, and maybe I'll be on. I'll try to do something a little more lighthearted. And I'm also working on a couple little series going on and some things that I'm, wanting to present. But yeah. All right. Oh, that's true. The hospitals. Oh, okay. It's true. The hospitals can now take the decision away from the Jehovah's Witness parents as it's, manslaughter. Yep. If a child passes. Yeah. Jehovah's Witnesses, I don't think they allow whole blood transfusions. Teaching is 60 years old and children. Yeah. It's just awful. Yeah. So it's got to stop. And that's another, topic probably for another day. But yeah, things like certain procedures that could save lives, I've unfortunately seen kids walking around, homeschool kids walking around with diseases that were cured years ago, things like polio. It shouldn't be, in my opinion. So, okay. So Natalie is going on in a couple hours. Yes. So we'll look forward to that. I'm not sure if she's home or if she's still in Hawaii. So looking forward to that. And all right. So I guess we're good here. And please like and subscribe if you haven't, and leave me a comment in the video, the comments below. I love that. I always read them all. So yeah, we'll see you. See you later. Bye. Zenu, Marlene, everybody partake. Cheers. This is good coffee. This is why, my hubby makes the coffee.
Like a glove.